Okay, so last we left off, we were taking a look at our performance expectation, and now we're going to dig a little bit deeper into it. So you'll notice that we are trying to construct explanations to be able to predict patterns of interactions among organisms across multiple ecosystems. So first, let's take a look at this back part here. What do we mean by across multiple ecosystems? So what we're trying to point out is that whether you are in the tundra or a forest or the ocean or anywhere, even the desert, the interaction of the different organisms is going to be the same no matter where you are. So, for example, you may remember from lower school grades that there's what's called a food pyramid. And even if we're looking here in the Arctic, you're going to have things that are decomposing down to like the dirt level. Then there are producers like lichens that are eaten by things. So the lichens are eaten by the primary consumers, and they are eaten by the wolves, and those are eaten by the even larger consumers. Another example might be over in a forest. In a forest, you're still going to have grass, and then the grass is eaten by the grasshoppers. The grasshoppers are eaten by the frogs are eaten by the snakes, and then the snakes are eaten by the hawk, which probably would also take out frogs as well. But one of the things that we want to be able to point out is this pattern. So again, we are looking for the patterns of how they interact among different organisms. And if I look here, I will see that there is definitely a pattern, that the things that are eaten have to be more than the things that are eating them. One more time, the things that are being eaten, there has to be more of that than the thing that is eating it. So let's take a look at one last one. I believe this one was even in the ocean. So in the ocean, you can see it says there's over, for any ratio, 1,000 pounds of things that can be eaten for every 100 pounds of fish or something that eat it. And then for that, there's only 10 pounds of things that can eat that. And then there's only 1 pound of things that can eat that. So in order to have thousands and thousands and thousands of sharks, there would have to be millions of pounds of the grass underneath it. So the grass underneath it and the algae and the photosynthesizing bacteria and whatnot, all the way down at the bottom of this food chain, has got to be there in the millions of pounds in order for all of these things on top of it to be able to eat. So what we are going to be focusing on, rather than worrying about the different ecosystems for today's activity, is going to be that pattern of interactions among organisms and see whether or not that pyramid really is true. So the next activity that you have on your worksheet there is for you to go into this program, and I'm just going to show you really quickly how to maneuver around it. So this has got foxes, rabbits, and grass. And on this scale here, I can slide these and move these around to change the amount of biomass or the amount of material in the environment for this specific experiment. So I can shift up to be a whole bunch of rabbits, or I can say maybe there's hardly any foxes. And if you want to get specific, you can even type numbers in here. For instance, in this case, there are 0 foxes, and maybe I want 547 for grass, and maybe I want to put the same for rabbits, and we'll just see what happens if we maybe let's change the foxes to about there and see what happens when we hit run. Now, when I hit run on this, it's going to run an algorithm that will show what we think is going to happen as these things interact with each other. And you can see right off the jump, you can look at the graphs up here. The green is the grass, the gray is the rabbits, and the orange is the fox. So the numbers that we started with immediately had a very dramatic shift. And then the environment found, surely enough, a pyramid of sorts. Now we're going to go back to the previous page so I can do new numbers. So I'm going to check on this menu right over here, which will take me back over here, and I can now shift and move these things around as I wish to be able to change and run a different experiment. So my challenge for you today would be able to see if you can go in and create something other than a finishing pyramid. And if you can, you could even take a screenshot of it and email it to me with a description of why you think you are able to create something other than this pyramid. So play with it, have fun with it, and see if you can create something that's anything different from that. All right, good luck and have fun.